Coming to you from Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, this is the Quinn Spinn. Hey now, and welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of... I made it 5 more seconds. The Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, Quinn. At least that's how they know me here on the program. We're here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, YouTube, and more for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of Underground Music Collective. You just heard Revel 9's All I've Become. That's been our opening theme song here at the Quinn Spinn since the great year of 2014, and it will be until the very end of days. And you may notice I'm all the way over here today, and the guests, they have multiplied. We've never had this many people on the interview set before, but we are here for a very special reason. It's because Music on the Move Studios has their next showcase at the Basement East on March 20th, which, as of release date, is this coming Monday. So get your tickets now.
What?
And we have, well, as of release date. As of recording, we're still a couple weeks out. We still got a couple weeks.
Everyone just panicked. They're like, I thought it was the 5th. Hold on.
I live in the future. But yeah, so get your tickets to that, and I'll just kind of go down the line. We have Erin McLendon joining us for the 3rd time on the Quinn Spinn. She is the co-founder of Music on the Move Studios. We have Meg Rilley. We have Noelle McFarland. We have Teagan Stewart and Erin O'Dowd, all of whom, the last 4 I mentioned, are performing on the showcase alongside Erin McLendon and the HellCats, who are hosting.
Yeah.
So, a lot to cover here today, a lot of perspectives to give, but I will start by going down the line and asking you all, individually, one by one, the 3 standard questions. Erin, you've answered these a couple times before now, but just as a refresher, those 3 questions are: who are you? What are your passions? And why on earth would you want to come on the Quinn Spinn?
Well, like you said a couple times, my name is Erin McLendon. Mm-hmm. Some of you may know me as Erin Phillips. I got married. I didn't change my name musically because it's way easier to change it legally than it is musically. Fun fact for all of you, it's not that confusing. Get over it. So people all the time.
It's really hard to do in distro. Like, distro doesn't let you do it. Like, I'm working with another person who's like trying to change it, and the distro's like, no.
Yeah, branding wise, like, ladies, if you get married, stick to your maiden name. If you've already branded yourself as such, stick with it. That's why Carrie Underwood is still Carrie Underwood, not Fisher. Anyway, moving on.
Well, also Carrie Fisher was Princess Leia, right?
Yeah,
there's also that. Yeah. Spelled differently though.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Your passions.
May the force be with her. My passions are obviously geeky things like Star Wars, but also music, writing music, and empowering women. And that is why this whole showcase started. Mm-hmm. And I will get more into that later. But the reason I am here today is to help promote these fabulous artists and talk more about the showcase, what it is, why we do it, and what to expect.
All right.
Yeah, hi. I'm Meg Rilley. I'm a Southern rock artist here in Nashville. What was the second question?
What are your passions?
Who are you? Blanked. My passions. I'm passionate about my family. I'm passionate about calling out men. Sorry, but not sorry.
Yes.
And mostly songwriting and music. So that's what I'm doing here. We're all on that showcase in a week now. And we're really excited about it. I'm excited to play at the Basement East, and I'm excited to have this conversation about women in the music industry.
Gerard, you're so brave for doing this.
Once you said that, I was like, okay, where's the exit? I think I'm just going to let y'all do this.
Brave.
I'll be over here.
Literally cowered away.
So men. Sharpens nails.
My name is Noelle McFarland. I've also recently gone through an artist change, not due to marriage, just because
it's due to vibes.
My legal name, my legal name, a lot of people did ask if I got married, though. My legal name is just boring, and so I've also been going through that distro kid trouble. But yes, Noelle McFarland, I'm an indie pop singer-songwriter. I am also passionate about music and feminism, which is, I think, what a lot of us were drawn to with this showcase. I am also half deaf. I'm hard of hearing, so I like to talk about my ear condition and kind of bring awareness to that, not only to deaf and hard of hearing community, but specifically the space where music and deafness kind of coincide. So that's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm Teagan Stewart. I'm from New Mexico, and I'm a country artist. I'm really passionate about country music, and also as most people know, country music is actually the worst genre for being really anti-feminist and not including women, and not just not including them, but like kicking them out of radio play and, specifically not including them. So that's also something I'm passionate about, interested in. I'm also really passionate about comedy. I love improv. I do musical improv. I've done a lot of stand-up. So I have a little bit of comedic elements in my songs, but I'm not really doing a Bo Burnham thing or anything like that. But that's just something that's been a bigger part of my life. And I'm really happy to be here with all of you.
Glad to have you.
Right on. Okay, in the hot seat. Yeah, I was like, I don't even know who I am. How do I?
Yeah.
How do I?
Who are you?
Was I supposed to prepare?
Who's the real
Just showed up
you?
on this
It's not
planet.
that deep.
Yes.
Different podcast.
I play soul-driven Americana, cosmic country. I can't really decide what to brand myself. I'm kind of in the process of rebranding, but I'm from Oklahoma, neighboring state to you. And let's see, I've been in Nashville for 3 years and 3 months with a 2-year break in between the 3 months part. And I'm really excited to play at the Basement East for the first time with women. Like, to echo what you all said, I think that's really important and powerful. I've definitely experienced a lot of sexism, and having to work 7 times is hard for people to be like, that's cute. And, I'm like, thanks. I know I'm cute. I can't help that. But like, also I'm a badass, and I think that's what this is all about. It's like, hey, we're a badass, all of us as one. And individually.
One ass. One collective
One
bad
giant
ass.
collective ass.
Oh, God.
Anyway.
Oh, you're in trouble, Gerard.
I am in deep trouble. Check, please. So we are all here, of course, to talk about the showcase upcoming on March 20th, which as of recording is 2 weeks from now, but as of release date is only a few days away. But we're also here to talk about your experiences as women in the music industry. And we can tell this is already going to be a very lively, spirited, hot button conversation. My first question for all of you, and whoever wants to go first, is to describe some of the challenges that you've encountered as women in the music industry and some of the ways that you've gotten around those.
We do not have time for all of that.
Pick one. Pick one and start there, I guess.
No, I'll actually tell you the story that inspired me to go down the path that I have and basically create my entire career around it. Once upon a time, I released an album back in 2014. It was called Fire and Wine. If you've ever seen me live performing my own songs, you've heard that song. It's one of my favorites. But I was like this little 24-year-old who thought she knew like who she was, all that kind of stuff. And I'm now 32, so learned a lot between now and then. But I actually had a meeting with a record label, and it was through a family connection because that's how this town works. It's all who you know. And I went in there, I sat down. It was me and this one guy, person thing. And I didn't want to just say
Like
guy.
from now on. I'm just a person thing.
Man-person thing.
A male figure.
Well, I didn't want to say like guy to make it sound like we were the same age. It was an older man. But he sat there and talked at me for an hour, not to me, at me. There was very little conversation happening. And then at the end, he goes, and yeah, we just signed our one girl for the year, so we're tapped out. And that was it.
The silent shock from all of us
I-
for the people who are only going to be listening to
Yeah,
this.
wow.
We made
Yeah, we all had a reaction to that.
My
That
face
one
is
girl
like-
has gone on to be very successful. So clearly they put their this person is one of the biggest artists in country music right now. I will not name names because
I
that's
know.
not fair.
I feel like I know.
It's not their fault. But it just, in that moment, I went, oh shit. Because I had heard about the sexism. I had experienced a little bit on like a small scale, but I didn't realize like how bad it was until that point. Because I was like, no, I'm a powerful woman. Screw all that. I'm going to be right there. Nope. I got shut out real fast. And so I was like, no, if I can't have a seat at the table, I'm going to make my own damn table.
That's right.
So that's
Have
how
you
all this
guys heard
started.
of Tomato Gate? I think
Oh,
was what
God.
it was called.
Yes.
Do you-
That was
argued with
not
that guy
long
on
after.
Twitter.
Okay, yeah. So if you haven't heard of it, and correct me or add to it if I don't get it all, but that it was a radio executive, I believe, who said that this is also the worst analogy, so at him, but that it's a salad. If the radio is or whatever,
Country music is a salad.
the women are the tomatoes, which are the garnish.
Not everybody likes them. That's what
You throw them, sprinkle them in, and actually, what's crazy is that women in country music used to be a third of airplay, and it's actually gone way down since the 90s. So it's actually worse than it was like 20, 30 years ago, which is crazy. And even the share of women who do get played on the radio are played in the middle of the night when like people aren't listening, and a big share of their plays on radio. And obviously there's streaming, which you would think that streaming then is proof. Like, for example, Casey Musgraves, the whole oh my God, I can't believe I'm blanking. The whole
Star-Crossed? Is that
the one before, the Golden Hour.
Golden
oh my
Hour,
God.
yeah, it
the
won a
whole
Grammy.
Golden Hour album, which won a Grammy, and she toured very successfully, was never on radio. And that's a good example of like, you would think now that streaming would make it so that you can kind of walk in with your proof of like, well, everybody likes this, so why won't you play it? And I don't know what the resistance comes from, that they think people won't sell records off women. Like I genuinely don't get it, because there's tour sales and album sales and all these things, and it's like it feels like none of it matters, and the bar is just so much lower for men.
Oh my God, don't get me started. I want y'all to keep telling your stories, because there is an example that happened this week of someone who did not deserve the clout that they got this week. I'm very mad about it. Anyway, continue.
Was it a man?
Yeah.
What
yeah,
if
it
we don't
was.
know?
You're not going to elaborate.
I'm trying
now
really
on
hard
how
not to
it-
name names
we
because I
know
don't
that-
want anybody to
I
at me
understand.
at any point.
Right.
But like when you put on a free show at Bridgestone and not the week before,
I don't even pay attention, I guess.
somebody
I'm
else
unaware of
also
this.
sold out Bridgestone, but had also worked their ass off for 2 decades to get to where they are now. And this person didn't even finish his apology tour.
Oh, I don't know if I can talk about this guy.
Off
Sorry,
air, off
I'm
air.
just an example. Sorry, continue your stories.
Well, I'm really interested to hear from the country genre specifically, because some things that come to mind, I kind of entered the music industry as a country artist because that was all I knew. I was that Taylor Swift prototype of I got my guitar and this is how I learned songwriting, and now I've kind of explored different genres. But something I always have noticed, and this is probably a bit more surface level than what we're going to get into, but the hours of makeup that I do, even at the the writers rounds that I do, I'm not even playing on awards shows and Bridgestone arena type venues, and even the men at that level are just in a t-shirt and a cowboy hat
Or a
Right.
trucker hat.
That's a very good
Or-
point to
or
point
trucker.
out, like the amount of effort we're expected and actually really required to do.
absolutely, and
Including
that's
money.
something that's always
Yes.
Yeah, makeup's so expensive.
right, even with and social media and like the writers rounds that I go to, it just it's just that extra time and effort that sometimes I'll just like look at the guy that I'm sitting next to on stage and I'm like, that's not fair. I could not dress the same way and come up here barefaced with my natural hair that I didn't do anything to and be taken as seriously. And maybe I'm just assuming that, but it is a little frustrating to see that, and I think I see that most in country music.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're assuming anything there. I think we've, at least I have. I'm not going to speak on behalf of anyone else, but like shown up to a gig where you're not done up as much and you're not taken as seriously. Not at all. It looks like you didn't put any effort in, even though I might have put in just as many minutes as the guy I'm sitting next to, putting on my jeans and t-shirt and running a brush through my hair. But you're not taken as seriously. So any guy who's like listening and thinking, well, I would take them just as seriously if they're talented, I just don't think that's reality. And I think that's unrealistic to think that you would assume that.
There's also like the whole thing of like look at all of us on stage right now.
Yeah.
We're in a podcast interview where we were told there was going to be a camera. All of us did our makeup. All of us.
And our hair.
And our hair. And it's just like out of respect
So
for
did
you, but it's also like, and I appreciate how quiet you're being right now.
I'm just listening. I'm listening and learning.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault.
That you're, you know,
But it's never not your fault.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. The thing is coming for you.
I just don't think anyone is the exception to the systems that they were raised in and the things that they were told is okay. Like,
Yeah.
I think it all starts with like being open to the idea that you may not think of everything correctly or like be thinking of things in the way that helps solve the problems, and be open to being called out on those things and adjusting how you're thinking and thinking critically about how you view certain things and how you automatically, like, if there was a writer's night on a Friday and it was all men, that's just another Friday. But this is unique. This is a special aspect because we're all women. So like, you don't think about it when you go to Live Oak on Friday and it's all men. But if it was all women, you'd be like, wow, it's all women. And I think it starts with acknowledging why that is unique and why that is a selling point and why that is
Exactly.
the norm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that's a good jumping off point to the next question then, is an opportunity like this showcase at the Basement East, you know, like what Music on the Move Studios is doing for women. Why is that important, you know, and what does that give you an opportunity as female artists, as female entrepreneurs to get across?
For me, it's like and it's not for lack of talent, but I stopped playing with men in my band just because I saw the reactions I was getting when I walked in with an all-female band. And people are like, oh, why do you play with all women? And I say, because you keep asking me that question. These people are
Right.
just as, if not more talented than the people I used to play with. And we all deserve space. That's why there's an all-female house band to feature the musicians in this town. That's why that's obviously the all-female lineup. And that's why there's the pop-up markets as well, because small businesses get the same crap that we do.
Mhm.
And so for me, it's I will keep doing this until it's normal, accepted as normal.
Yeah.
Until we aren't still fighting for God knows everything that we're fighting for.
And everybody talks about Nashville as, you know, it's a town of who you know, and a lot of it's networking. And so I don't know, you can tell me your experiences, but for me, like, I'm friends with a lot of, like, loose friends with a lot of guys in country who I think respect me and we have a good rapport. And it's like, they're not, I've maybe played with a couple of them before and it's gone well, and they're not going to hit me up for an opening spot. If I've texted them for an opening spot, they're not going to respond. And so there is still the social contract of, and it's not everybody, but it's enough that it matters that, like, I'm not in the boys club enough to be part of that networking ecosystem. So that is why this is helpful, because even though I thought those were good connections, like, those are never going to pull me onto a show.
That is another thing that I'm really excited about with this showcase, is this idea of an all-female house band, including instrumentalists, because I think there's not necessarily a shortage of women who are maybe like the quote-unquote front man of the band. There's plenty of us who are successful as vocalists and as singer-songwriters, but a lot of us have a bunch of white guys on stage with us. And I love my band members. They're so fun to hang out with. But and they're incredibly talented and we have a great time performing. I do think it is important to acknowledge, though, that they had the privilege and the resources to be able to get in the same spaces. And there's a reason why it is a lot easier, at least in my experience, to find, you know, white male guitar players and white male drummers.
I thought they were just naturally better at guitar. Like,
Right, and
the
it's
science shows that men.
I think all of us have felt that
So
at
to
some
pivot.
point where we question ourselves and we're like, am I just not as good at
Right.
networking as you? Am
Yeah.
I just not as good of a player as you? Am I not as good of and like, I don't know about you, but there are times where I have taken that in and been like, oh, well, that just must be why things are like this.
I do think, I think part of it is just the spaces that people are invited into, because I try to look for musicians who, you know, musicians of color and non-binary folks and you know, female musicians. And there's just not enough spaces like this that showcase those people. And so that's why it seems when I'm networking and I'm on these Facebook groups and, you know, the people I meet through school and other events, it's just, it feels very just white and male, and you know, like, they're talented and they are who I enjoy collaborating with, but it's hard to kind of branch out and diversify that band when not enough people are getting invited into these spaces that look different and identify different and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it's this terrible little like cycle of there's this underlying assumption that there's not as many women, there's not as many people of color, there's not as many like participating in this community, even if there are, and therefore they're not booked, and therefore they don't play, and therefore they're not visible, and therefore the assumption continues that they're not there. So yeah.
One question I have, you know, for somebody who looks like me, you know, for somebody who is a white male, and you've touched on some of this, but I think to just kind of expand on this point, what can we do to make things more inclusive?
Book women.
Yeah.
Book
And
women,
what you're doing right now, I think just being open to
Yeah.
having the conversation and being an ally and taking that seriously, and, you know, stand up for women in front of your friends, because I think like Teagan mentioned about her friends that are like more casual and they're good friends to her, but then there's this wall. Like, I've often felt like that around the male musicians I've played with, that as soon as I step out of the conversation, I might be on the other side of the room, but I'm just like, who are these people? As soon as I walk up, different kind of respect, but just hearing the way they're speaking about women, it's just rather derogatory, and it makes me feel like I'm a pet project to them and not serious, you know. And I think it's easy to internalize like how that makes us feel and respond accordingly, and I think that does keep us stuck. I really do, because actually my hometown where I'm from in Oklahoma, like, I think Nashville is like hugely progressive compared to what I experienced there. This is nothing. I mean, and I'm not invalidating anything any of us has said, but it's just so much better. Because like, it was terrible there for me. It was like, you were really weren't taken seriously at all. I've been, you know, people would like ban me from playing venues, like on the back end, because like the bartender had a crush on the other girl singer-songwriters that would give her a residency. And then I went through all kinds of shit like that. I'm sorry
That's
if
disgusting.
I'm
I'm
cuss.
sorry.
Oh yeah, well, it's the internet. It's a wild
Yeah,
west.
and I dated a guy that was really high up in the scene, and, you know, he's so vain, I'm sure he would know that I was talking about him. But you know, it was literally to come to the point when I record my album, the guy that produced it is like, didn't want me to write a song that talked about a different relationship where the guy was actually on meth, and so I left that off the album. So like, oh, that's our friend, and I'm like, well, I'm not just really calling out him, I'm actually calling out like the meth problem in the state.
Also, that's your art. Who the fuck cares?
I know. I know, and everybody loved that song, but I chose not to put it on the album because so many people were so in my business that they knew who it was about, because they knew he was on meth and I didn't, and they kind of like protected it, because a lot of the musicians are, and they hide it, and you'd be surprised, you know, until they don't look so attractive anymore.
Right.
Yikes.
You know, and that's the kind of like, this is like kind of gatekeeping and like protecting of people who aren't doing people right keep staying stuck as well, you know, because then the truth never comes out, and people would rather be like, oh, well, we'd rather like talk bad about this girl because nobody cares. She's a girl and she doesn't have that much pull, and, you know, her family's not big in this music scene. And, you know, like, turn around, I moved to Nashville and they're all like, hey, can you help me? And I'm like, close the door. Like, you know, like, I moved on because I don't reciprocate anymore to people that don't reciprocate to me, and that's period, no matter gender.
Yes.
But I've found a lot of that is turning off a lot of mostly men, honestly, and that I'm now uniting with more and more women like you guys that are actually on my vision board, you know, like, we're aligned on our paths. We're all like doing it.
And that, like, I've also had, I didn't date anybody who told me like I couldn't do something on my album, but I was working with a producer a long time ago who, because he didn't write the song with me, he would gaslight me into thinking it was a bad song, and it was my album. And I was like, I'm literally paying you. Can you just like put your ego aside? And we just like stopped working on the song that day, and I went to a different producer and recorded it with him, because I trust him and he knows how to like actually speak to me like a person. But like, going off of what you said with like the small town thing, like, and this is something I just recently started talking about, but I was bullied from the time I was in like second grade all the way through college by women, by men as well. And it just like, when I got out, I was like, it doesn't have to be this way. Like, I think that's why there are so many communities in Nashville centered around women, because we all figured out like, we don't have to fight each other to get to that spot anymore. Like, we have to start making spaces where we show people like, we're not going to back down. We're not going to stop fighting. And to your point, Gerard, what you can do is you can do exactly what you're doing right now and listen when we speak up about things, and not just like push us aside or say it's not that bad, or like just don't discount us.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard because I feel like it is a continuous thing where everybody has to keep catching themselves in those assumptions and correct them. And I have a really recent example too, that I don't think they're going to hear this, so that's why I'm like okay to say it. But I've been working with a producer since I got here, and we have a great rapport. Like, I love working with him, and he's been pushing like just a couple artists more and more, and like that's totally fine, and they're, you know, guys, and they're doing great, they're having a lot of success. But like, he raised the rate on me for production, which is fine, that's the way his business is going. But now I'm recording the song where I'm like, I feel like I'm paying the absolute most I can possibly pay. I am still excited to do this. This is all I got. And he invited this artist to last minute just be in my session. And like, that felt so disrespectful. And I knew him too, but it's like, would you ask me, like, why is this guy in my session that I'm paying you a couple $1,000s for? Like, why? And also, you know, if it's a networking thing, like, that guy's not taking me on shows. We're not doing songs together. Like, why is he here? And it's, you know, they've been this kind of this boys club, and it's like, well, you got to just get in it. And it's like, well, I tried. And I also don't appreciate like my time being, you know, pushed around with these other people's time. And so I just started cutting a song with a new producer, and I could tell he probably didn't even know. He was like, oh, I see you're working with that guy. Like, oh, interesting. And if he asks more questions, I'll tell him. But it's like,
a lot of the worst things that happen to women in this scene, I think, and in most industries, is this kind of subconscious like degrading that I think a lot of men don't even realize they're doing. Or maybe it's internal, maybe it's, you know, your classic mansplaining, and it's behind closed doors. But I think that maybe things like this, where it's we're having events that are specifically showcasing women, sometimes can feel threatening to the people who aren't marginalized, seeing that happen. And I think maybe even it's just internal, and you're like, man, like, why do I feel that way? You know, you might think, okay, so why is there a Women's History Month and this women's showcase where only women and non-binary people are allowed? When, like, why can't we have that with men? Or same thing with like a race, you know? And it's like you said earlier, there's so many, it's the natural norm for there to be a full round of men on a Friday night. And so that's why you have to allow for these spaces of marginalized groups to like kind of bond over that and let them be showcased. It is not a threat to you. It is only an extra push for the marginalized group. And so I think that's something that might be kind of an undercurrent sometimes, is this feeling of like you're being threatened maybe.
Yeah, and I think it's important in terms of like actionable things for maybe any man or etc. watching to do. Sorry, I'm so bad at speaking sometimes. Is to like
Doing great.
Just be aware of the small actions, like you said, like this underlying degrading that's happening that you don't realize you're doing. So like, I can't tell you, to the point of like a boys club, there's so many little pockets of boys clubs in Nashville, and you could argue it as Nashville as a whole, where you say, well, you just got to get in it. You just got to start going to the bars late at night and hanging out with these guys. And sure,
That's
but
a
then
slippery
you're
slope.
Yeah.
well, you're
Yeah.
also viewed differently. Like, you're the only one in the room who people would ever look at and say, by the way, you look really nice tonight. Why are you saying that at all?
Yeah.
You're not saying it to any of the 20 men in the room. You're only saying it to me. I get off stage with my band of all men. Not one of them, they're just being told, hey, that was a great performance. I'm getting told that was a great performance. Also, you look really nice tonight, as if that's what's needed. Some compliment on my physical appearance is needed to justify the rest of it. So you're viewed differently. You just are right now. Yeah. When you go to hang out with the boys club, they're viewing you as the woman in the room.
Yeah.
Not a member of the club, not someone who's making the effort to be there and network with them. So just like little comments that you might be making that maybe to you seem like a genuine compliment, but you wouldn't say to anybody else in the room. And if I'm in the room to be presented as a professional, don't talk to me like I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Can we get rid of 2 very specific phrases? 1, not all men. That needs to leave right now. 2, smile, honey.
Oh,
That needs to get the fuck out right
my
now.
goodness.
Anybody tells me I need to smile more, I'm like, okay, why don't you get up and do what I do every single day? Every single day. Because I am not only thinking about the song that I'm singing, I'm thinking about like, who am I going to interact with next? I'm also thinking about like, there's a creepy guy in the corner looking at me the wrong way. How am I going to approach this should that happen?
That's a great point, because I think sometimes our friendliness and our kindness and you just smiling can be misconstrued as an invitation.
Yup.
And it can be almost unsafe sometimes. And sometimes this is just outside of music. This is just generally, I'm at a gas station or I'm out in public, and the kind part of me wants to exchange a smile with this strange man because he seems nice. But one comment, one smile and it's happened before, it can just be misconstrued, and it can just completely change the interaction, because it can be viewed as an invitation to be creepy and make me feel unsafe. And usually it's not, but the chance that it could be is enough to turn you off and make you seem like this cold person just out of self-preservation.
Yeah. And the reason we feel that way is because it's happened countless times. Like, we are told, don't go anywhere alone. Don't go anywhere dark. Maybe don't play a show after dark, which is impossible. Like, we're told, like, always be aware of your surroundings. Like, Gerard, how many of those things have you been told?
Aside from by my mom, none. Well, that's just because that was my mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Right. And that's fair. Like, general safety consensus,
Yeah.
but it's different for women. Like,
Right.
you will never see a soul woman walking down Broadway by herself.
Right.
Unless something is very wrong.
Mhm.
Like, we travel in packs for a reason.
Yeah.
And we went kind of away from the other question you asked, which was the importance of promotion.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Back to the music business side of things.
Yeah. So obviously we're all entrepreneurs here. You're all female entrepreneurs as well as musicians. And so there's so much about those worlds that intertwine here, so with an opportunity like this, kind of, I think brings to light like how important it is to really spread the word and get yourself out there. So like, how does this opportunity with the showcase on March 20th like help you build awareness of what you're doing and of your platform, your music, and the things that you stand for?
It's so cool to be promoting a show. First of all, Basement East. Second of all, a band show. I love a writer's round, but there's nothing better than just playing a set with a band of your own music. That's not a cover gig. Like, that on its own is so exciting and something that I want to invite everybody I know to, and does like actually showcase who you are as an artist. And like, I think I can speak for everyone when I say like, we want to just play music, and we'll take different opportunities that have different types of performances here and there. But like, this is our bread and butter, and we want to be able to, show again who we are as artists, get that video, get those photos, like create an experience for the audience that is like more of the full picture of our artistry.
Yeah, I think this showcase specifically is going to be rad. Like, you just heard us all say what genres we are, and they are vastly different. And I think that's going to be awesome.
That was kind of the point when I first started this, because I know there's so many country showcases in this town, and there's so many writers' rounds, and I definitely did not want it to be a writers' round because there's a lot of women's writers' rounds in town already. I didn't want to compete. But I wanted it to be different genres because there are so many genres in Nashville. Music City doesn't necessarily just mean country, even though that's like a large part of our ecosystem. When I first started talking to Laura Goldie, we did a feature on her on the blog, and I said, so what's like, tell me about the rap scene in Nashville. And she said, it's always been here. Like, she's a Nashville native, which I called her a unicorn for that. But she said the rap scene has always been here. It's just gotten pushed aside because it's different. People don't understand it. So that's why I wanted like multiple genres. You will rarely see two people of the same genre on one of these showcases, because I want it to be like, hey, look at everything we have to offer.
Absolutely. I think I am excited for a similar reason as Teagan. Is I've kind of been trying to branch out of this writer's round solo acoustic gig realm that I've been in, and this is such a great opportunity with, it's kind of a stepping stone, and I feel like I've already, just through promotion, have shaken so many new hands and made so many new connections and gotten experience in types of marketing that I haven't had before. And so not only is it a fantastic, humbling experience to be part of the lineup and get to be kind of spotlighted like this, but also just how much I'm learning about the business side of being an artist with guidance of someone who's been in this for at least a decade longer than I have. You know what I mean?
I'm old.
You were wise.
Wise, that's what I was going for.
Experience, tenure.
It took me a second to realize you were talking about me, and then I was like, oh.
No. I'm just a baby. That's what I'm a baby.
You're fine.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you and I both know. You and I have been working together since 2019,
I think so, yeah. But pre-plague, yeah.
pre-plague.
Mhm.
But it's been interesting because this is all a learning experience for me too. I started these back in 2019, and Gerard hopped in at I think the latter half of 2019.
I think the first showcase I came to was at Exit in January 2020, right before
Oh
the Rona
God, yeah,
times.
that was the last one that was
Wow.
ever at Exit. God,
Yep.
that was sad.
Right before the Rona times.
Rest in peace.
Because we had another one
Right.
booked in April. Oh God, that one makes me
Yikes.
so sad.
Yeah.
Like I was like, yes, we can keep going. Oh God. Oh no. But it's all been like a learning experience for me, because as we take bigger swings and we step into places, like we pretend like we've been there before, but we haven't.
Mhm.
It's new, and it's exciting. But I'm learning like right along with you guys. It's interesting, and the biggest thing I've learned is like you can't just like say like I'm doing this thing once and then hope people see it.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you have an emailing list, you have TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, posters, people. Talk to people face to face, texting, whatever. And it's like you almost have to be obnoxious with it, which I don't enjoy being.
But you gotta be.
You
With
do,
how much
you have
noise
to
is
be.
out there right now.
Yeah.
you have to
And
be.
especially, again, to touch on the point that we've been talking about all day, is like as women, we have to work 7 times harder
Mhm.
than men do, just because people are like, yeah, whatever.
It's a good
I liked
thing,
your point. Oh,
on
I'm
work-
sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. That was such a good man move. Sorry, now I'm just.
We're just validating Gerard as a good man today.
You're a good
I
man.
get
You
a
can
gold
put this
star.
on your dating profile.
All right. All right.
I was
Watch for that Tinder coming soon.
I was
Anyway.
just saying it's a good thing I'm a workaholic, and it seems like the rest of you are too. So I feel like I'm in good company.
Yeah.
I've found too, it can be exhausting to be as obnoxious as you have to be, especially on the internet. But face to face, some of my best kind of connections within music have been just genuine female friendships, and we also happen to be musicians.
Yeah.
I think there's something so special about female friendships that I love finding specifically within my career path as well, because it's just so special and supportive, and that stay with me. That is something I feel bad for men for because I don't think men are as encouraged to be as openly supportive and affectionate towards each other. And so that is one thing that we have that I'm really grateful for.
Yeah, for sure.
Erin, I liked your point about how we're all figuring it out, because like we're walking with each other. It's just some of us maybe have been walking a little longer, but that doesn't mean we all have all the answers. Regardless of how long you've done it, like things evolve, the industry evolves, technology evolves. We were just, shooting some content before the show, because it's necessary, like 5 years ago, TikTok wasn't a thing. Like there's all these new things to learn and all these new tactics out there for all of us to wrap our heads around. So it's good to have people on that journey with you, sharing that community with you. And what you've built here, Erin, is that community. You know, is that across the board? And you should be commended for that, because I've gotten to see it grow, you know, over since 2019, since I've known you. And like, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the swings you're taking are bigger and bigger. And it's going to revolutionize the industry for women. I'm sure of it.
Damn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You caught me off guard there, Gerard. Yeah, the swings I'm taking are terrifying. I will say that. I can't tell you guys what they are. That's where we're at.
I try to live my life on WWKD, and that is, what would Kevin do? What would a guy named Kevin do?
Just any guy named Kevin?
Yes. I thought you were referencing Kevin from The Office. I was like, all right, let's hear where this goes.
What would a Kevin do?
You're so right.
If you're like, I don't know if I could play the venue, and I don't know if I can. Kevin already applied. You need the audacity. What would Kevin do?
Yeah.
The audacity. I love that.
Yeah.
What would he do? And then immediately when I share that, people are like, oh, I do know what Kevin would do. I should do that.
I'm going to start applying that to how obnoxious I am with marketing.
What would Kevin do?
Yeah.
How many times would he post about that?
Bro, my brother's name is
week?
Kevin, and
Wow.
this is messing with me hard. I'm just like,
I'm
Kevin would
also
move to
thinking of
DC.
Kevin the bird from Up, the Pixar character. Kevin.
I don't remember any names from that movie.
Sounds like it's time to rewatch.
It is absolute. Just skip the first 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember the
Then you're
movie.
good.
I just didn't know the names.
The bird is named Kevin, and Kevin's a girl.
Oh, it's
Got
the
it.
bird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it as well.
I'm a Disney nerd. We don't have time to dive into how deep that love is.
That'll be your 4th episode. that'll be Erin's 4th appearance on
Disney
the show.
trivia. Like, I stumped the person playing Peter Pan this past weekend when I was at Disney. That's how big of a Disney nerd I am.
Wow. That's actually
I'm
amazing.
very proud of that.
We all have so many unique skills and talents, and you never know when that's going to help you. Literally. You could win like a $2 million trivia night. Like, you could just...
I did beat a bunch of kids at Guess That Tune, and it was Disney themed.
Disney themed. Oh my god.
Yeah. Disney and Broadway. I won on a song from Les Mis. It was Castle in the Cloud. I was like, how are these 5-year-olds going to know Les Mis?
True.
They shouldn't. That's a dark show.
It is a dark
They
show.
shouldn't know Les Mis.
Yeah.
I was like, just hand me the prize. Thank you.
Like
I
it's
gave it to
real
the little
life.
kids who were
Just
working
smoke a
with me.
cigarette.
There you go.
I didn't need a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the main point of
Yeah.
what would Kevin do?
Mhm. You didn't want to be that person catching the home run over the 8-year-old and then not giving it to the 8-year-old, so to speak.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely
Anyway,
not.
Yeah, what would Kevin do?
I love that.
Please spread it around. Take it. Use it. Spread it.
I think that's your next merch.
Yeah.
What would Kevin do?
What would Kevin do?
That's definitely going to get some good questions at the merch table and like
Yeah.
start conversation.
There you go.
Who's Kevin? Kevin is the man with the audacity to do the things we're all supposed to be doing.
You have to like specifically make it someone that is not in your life though, that can claim that.
I'm not friends with a Kevin.
Yeah, same.
I don't know a Kevin. It's her brother.
I just
but
know
we
what
don't
he
know
would
him.
do.
Sorry, Kevin.
He's gonna be like,
You're the
"Damn,
face
Meg,
of the
why?"
news campaign.
It could be a customizable, like whatever white man name that speaks to you. Like if you want to go with Craig, you can.
Jason.
If you want,
Brad.
like with
Bill.
it was whatever. Kevin was the one for me. But
Oh
you
my
can-
God. I got to tell y'all a story because I met the 2 whitest boys last night at my gig, and we will bring it back. But this is also back to the point of, you know, like they have privilege. I was playing downtown like you do as a solo gig.
The dream.
And there were these 2 tables, and it was a fraternity from Purdue in town for their formal having dinner. You know where this is going. You know, they shout at me, I shout back. I don't like, if they can't like take it, don't dish it out. That is the level in which I communicate with crowds. And this one kid just started shouting, Billy Joel. And I was like, no. And then they went, Morgan Wall. And I said, get out.
Yeah.
But, and I kept reminding them to like tip jar. And this one kid was like, will you please sing some Beatles? And bless his heart, I could tell he was like the quiet kid. And I was like, okay, I'll sing some, that is an acceptable request. Thank you.
Right.
But then he kept requesting songs, and I was like, you know how this works? And I kept kicking my tip bucket. Found out this kid's name was Chambers. Chambers, yes. And then his other buddy was sitting across from him, and he couldn't figure out Venmo, but he goes, Chambers, do 5. I was like, oh, big man, big spender.
Wow.
His name was Briggs.
Echo.
Briggs.
God,
Briggs and
Briggs.
Chambers. It sounds like a law firm.
For real,
does,
though. And I'm
yeah,
just sitting
that
here
was
going,
good.
you people are the people I hated in high school. I'm sure you're lovely, but like, I never want to see you again.
Seeing the kind of people that bullied you in school in the wild
Being
is
adults.
so. It's,
Oh my God, I saw one of them at the Nashville airport and they saw me first
Ugh.
and they called my name and I went, shit. And I was
Wait,
just
someone
like,
you actually knew or someone that just looks like me?
No, it was somebody I actually knew. Like I went
Okay.
to
More
high
sense.
school with, and this is how people in my hometown greet people. It's first name, last name, up, down. Erin McLendon. And I went, oh, damn it. Because I knew.
Just from the inflection,
Mhm.
you knew.
I turn around. It's a kid I went to high school with. He wasn't ever a bully, but we weren't like friends. 2 weeks later, he friends my husband on Facebook because I was like, oh yeah, he was wearing an Exit In t-shirt. And I was like, and my husband used to work for Exit In. And he was like, oh, cool, man. He friends my husband on Facebook, DMs me for tickets. I was like, we haven't spoken in 10 years, but neat.
Oh my goodness.
Jeez.
The audacity of the Kevin. I mean,
The audacity. What would
Shit.
Kevin do? He would DM a complete stranger's husband.
maybe not. Maybe that's the wrong.
And there's a
Kevin,
chance
but-
he would have gotten tickets.
No, there was absolutely no chance he was ever getting
No,
tickets.
not. But like
with a
you
different
could have
dude.
DM'd. Whatever. You get my point.
Yes,
know what you
yes,
mean.
I get what you're saying.
A different stranger and a different cat. I don't know. I'm confused now. There are a lot of names. Some are real, some
Briggs,
are not.
Chambers, Kevin, Joey. No, I think I'd like a Joey. No, you
Just a
don't.
little
whatever-
kangaroo in the pouch.
It's whatever you want it to
Joey.
be.
Oh, that's true.
Anyway, not to stray too
Sorry, guys.
far. No, the show's best when it goes on tangents. I love it. I have one more question for y'all regarding your journeys here, and so lessons. So we'll go down the line. Erin, we'll start with you. We'll work our way down. Actually, let's start with the other end.
Let's start
on
with
the
the
other
other
end,
Erin.
and then and work back this way.
Oh,
You're
man,
not
I was
on
just
other
like,
Erin.
need
You
time
are
to
your
think
own
on
Erin.
this.
I just want.
No time to think.
That came out wrong, but let's start with Erin O'Dowd.
My journey. Be specific.
So, as far as lessons you've learned, if there's one lesson that you would impart to your younger self or to someone just starting out in the industry, what would that be?
I mean, oh God. I'd be like, oh honey, yeah, just keep going. Like you'll figure it out. You know, it was definitely a hard road, but I've been doing music stuff since I was like could walk. Like I've always been drawn to music and started out in church and then like school talent shows and singing. And I went through that like really awkward high school, middle school phase where I didn't want anyone to look at me. Like if you looked at me now, I'd be like, you know, just so painfully shy. So I had to overcome that, and I overcame that by playing bass in a band. I learned bass just to play in this shoegaze indie band with my friend Mandy, and we were a trio. We were all women. We were called the Lolitas, and it was really fun. And we had a great
awesome.
time. We had weekly band practice every Wednesday, and we'd smoke a joint and sit outside. And that fizzled out after a while, just, you know, personal differences. But honestly, that even the timing of that breakup was good because it kind of gave me that push I needed to like get out with my songs. Cause I had like notebooks full of my songs and I was just so embarrassed. I was like, everyone's going to think they're terrible. You know, I just didn't want anyone to actually like experience my art. I thought I would just hide it, you know? But that gave me that push to start getting out there and getting good feedback. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just kind of grown exponentially. It's like you go through these phases of things being abundant and not being abundant. And I think the main advice I would give is like, don't give up or lose hope anytime it gets dark. Like there's a night every single day and we go to sleep and we wake up and the sun comes up and everything's in phases and cycles. And that always just encourages me now to just keep putting the work in and like keep doing what feels right to you. Also don't have a vision and a plan. And then somebody comes along, no matter how amazing they are or close to you. And then they say, you should do this. Don't be like, oh, okay, out of insecurity or doubt. Like always check in with you first. You know, if it's someone who's opinion you respect, you know, maybe consider it, but don't like change your compass. You know, like where your north is.
I love that.
Yeah. Mine is, I have 2 points. One is similar to yours in that I feel like I did a pretty good job of this, but remember whose advice you're listening to. Like remember who it is who's talking to you, because I'm a very good student and I loved academia and I'm sometimes less artist head in the clouds and I wish I was more, but like I'm there to take notes and learn and read some books and do all that stuff. And so if there ever came a moment where someone wanted to impart advice or knowledge on me, I would be, you know, wide-eyed taking notes. And sometimes, and that's fine, but sometimes I would catch myself and be like, do they have anything out as a songwriter or a producer that I respect, that I even should take your advice? Like, why am I listening to you? And of course you just nod and whatever, but sometimes catch yourself and think about who is talking to you and, put them on that rubric of like, do I actually think that you are a place that I'm trying to get to?
Right.
And if you're not, like, why should I?
Yeah. Like, are they even an authority on what you're trying to do to even speak on what you're trying to do? Or are they just talking? Because there are a lot of people in this industry just across the board who will just tell you what they think you should do without actually living in your shoes.
And people will do it really confidently too. They'll be like, well, the thing you have to do in this industry. And then I think about it, I'm like, you don't even have a publishing deal and you can't send me any links to your production. So like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But the other point I was going to say is write more faster. And not everybody needs that advice. There are plenty of people who do like, they'll write 200, 300 songs in a year. They have so many co-writes they need to scale back. That's not for them. But for me, I needed to hear, like, you got to ditch your old songs. I did my very first EP when I was 18. I didn't know anything about the recording process, and there was kind of no way for me to know unless I tried. And I recorded this EP with some musicians. I didn't know anything about arranging, so I kind of gave them the work tape and was like, do whatever, which is a train wreck on recording day. And I didn't have a producer. I just had a sound engineer. So all said and done, the whole thing sounded kind of bad. And for a while, my parents and everyone around me is like, well, you should re-record that, or like you should think about. And the truth is, like, those songs were not good enough to merit me spending more time on them. Like, write new stuff. And write it faster, and don't hang on to, like, oh, I did this one thing 3 years ago and I think it's good. It's honestly probably not. Write something new.
Right, because you've gained so much experience in that time too.
Right.
Like, once in a while, maybe go back and find a gem, but for the most part, like, your best work is always happening now or even ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts running through my brain right now. I think I'm going to stick with advice that I got a couple years ago in undergrad, which was reach out, not up. Not so many people in this town grow together as colleagues and as friends, and I think I've gotten the furthest working with people who I did not meet in a musical setting. And to be fair, I was in a setting that is filled with musicians. I went to Belmont. Everybody that you're sitting next to probably plays an instrument or something. But the guitar player that I play with the most, we were RAs together. And then I learned he was a guitar major, and that's just a good example of kind of collaborating with the people that I connect the best with, and who I know believe in my stuff. And I trust their opinion and their talent. And also we just like are into the same shows on Netflix, or it's more HBO Max now, but so yeah, reaching out, not up, that's going to get you so much further, because those are the people that are going to kind of invite you in to spaces, because you're in their file cabinet as the person that they're going to text when they need a vocalist or they need this specific instrument. Like, oh, I'm going to hang out with the person. I'm going to, reach out to the person that is a good hang and that I trust and know. And so I think just kind of cultivating those friendships. I had another friend tell me, like, when you go to writers' rounds, just kind of like unbutton your shirt a little bit. Like, not her eyebrow.
Sorry, that was involuntary.
Undoes the whole work of the podcast.
She says on a women's, more just
I love it.
Roll up the sleeves.
It's
like
a metaphor. We're songwriters.
It's a metaphor.
Cut your
Let
shirt
your
into
hair
a crop
down.
This was
top.
a woman who gave me this advice. But yeah, just kind of like loosen the collar a little bit and relax.
Loosen the tie,
and,
if you will.
Yes, loosen the tie, the metaphorical tie. I said in a female setting. Yeah, just don't think of it so much as a performance, and just try to connect with the people that you're collaborating with and view them as other people, not just a potential connection.
Yes.
Like a networking connection. That's something that that has really helped me in the last year, since I just kind of started adopting that mentality.
It's all about the hang.
Yeah. this is going to sound in opposition. It's not. But my advice for like me, however long ago, would probably be to always maintain professionalism. Like show up a little early, stay a little later than you think you gotta. Talk to the people around you. Always be good to the people who booked you. Always follow up with them. Be on top of sending your emails. Be on top of sending your follow-ups to try to get booked when you're traveling. Like just always maintain a level of professionalism that I think sometimes just lacks in the music scene because we're all artists and we all are absent-minded and forget and have other things going on and have a million things going on. So it's easy to forget, but make your lists, stick to them. Make your spreadsheets, stick to them. So yeah.
Love it.
Be more type A. I like it. I think every musician needs to hear that.
Yes.
Mine is actually kind of a revelation I've had recently. Stop apologizing for who you are.
Yeah.
Because I am a just naturally loud and extra human being, says the girl in the sequin blazer with pink lipstick. And growing up, I was like painfully shy. But when I would like be myself or be like super like loud and excited and whatever, I would get called hyper or too much. Or just like people would say that I'm a little much. And like I would get offended by that, and I would shrink into myself, and I would try to mold myself into being like who people thought I should be rather than being who I know I am. And in the early days of my music career, like I thought like, okay, well, these people know better than I do. Even though there was one point when I was sitting at a table and all these people were telling me what I should do, and none of them had college degrees. None of them had been in the music industry. Like they had been in the music industry, but none of them had like that major success. And I finally looked at everybody at the table and I said, I'm sorry, I'm the only one here with a degree. And we're talking about my music. So I think I need to have more of a say than you're letting me have. Which in that moment, I was terrified to say those words. I was shaking underneath the table. But it just, once I started to lean into who I am and just being completely authentic, that's when I started to find the people who would appreciate me for that rather than try and hide it. Like the other thing is don't be afraid of broken friendships and relationships because people are in your, what's the phrase? Like they're in your
A season, a reason, or a lifetime.
Yeah, season, reason, or a lifetime. But yes, in your corner for a season, reason, or a lifetime. You weren't wrong. But it's just part of growing as an artist, as a person, however you want to look at it, is just transitioning and changing and not being afraid of that and just owning who you are.
And you are. You're going to outgrow people. You're going to outgrow situations, relationships of all kinds, not just romantic or friendships. You're going to outgrow some family relationships too along the way. It's just like when you're trying to elevate, when you're trying to level up, like you're going to level up past what you've accepted before. And with that, you're going to be taking a good look at some of those dynamics, and you're going to need them to either change for the better, kind of shape up or ship out, right? And I think we've all probably experienced that on this stage. You've all probably experienced that out there. If you're an ambitious person, is not everybody's going to take well to your ambitions. And you will have people in your life in whatever context trying to make them small, make you small, cut you down, so you don't rise above them. And really what that is to me is they don't see it in themselves, so therefore they can't possibly see it in you. It's not a reflection of you. It's a reflection of the small nature with which they view themselves. I love that. I love all of these points. Tremendous points across
Good
the
job,
board.
guys.
Yeah.
We are coming up on time. We've had such a great conversation here today, and I want to first of all thank you all for being here, for showing up, sharing your perspectives. I think anybody watching this, of course, could get a lot out of this episode, and really listen, y'all. Listen to this back, watch it back, however you consume the show, because there's a lot here. And I think, with these experiences that we've had a chance to hear about, like there are a lot of solutions that we can come up with together to make things more equitable in this industry. And that's why I think it's important. That's why I think the work that you're doing, Erin, is really important. All of you are doing, is because ultimately there are talented people everywhere, who deserve the chance to be heard and deserve that level playing field. And so I hope we can provide that for you. And again, I want to thank you for coming here, and I admire the way you all showed up here today. So
All
thanks.
right. Thank you for
Thanks for
having
having
us.
you.
Before we sign off, I'd want to give everybody down the line, and we'll start down with Erin O'Dowd at that end again, just to give everyone a chance to learn more about where they can learn more about you.
More about me, like music, where they can find me.
Yeah, all the
kinda-
socials.
This is the shameless plug
Yep.
section.
Oh, I'm like, I love dogs. I like food. I'm like, be professional. Yes. I live in the country now and I love it. And it like refills my cup. And I was just thinking about that while you were talking for some reason. But what the season, reason, lifetime, I'd never heard that before. That was really, really good, by the way. Because I've had a lot of things in my life kind of like change recently. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited about like new music, a new chapter. I'm really thankful for the opportunity to play this showcase because it's kind of like me reintroducing myself to Nashville and the people that have been following me, but in the context of like supporting other women, which is really amazing. And actually, as a result of playing this, someone else asked me to play another showcase supporting women. And they were like, we just
Hell
think of
yeah.
you now when we think of supporting women. And I'm like, well, good. Like,
That's amazing.
you know,
Awesome.
and it just makes me really think of like the cumulative effect, like you guys were saying, of what Erin's doing, of like what everybody involved is doing. And I think it builds a lot of bridges for us as people, because I really think we are stronger together and banding together. Yeah, I think we're making a new thing. And that's like all about my ethos. Like I really have deep goals for the world and how I want to see it change. And I know that starts with myself, but being here and playing music with everybody really like fuels me because it's what I love. So yeah, look out for my music. ErinO'Dowd.com, at Erin EJ O'Dowd on Instagram and TikTok, which I don't really use or like. And I'm also
None of
on
us
Facebook
do.
and Twitter,
Word.
posting, you know, iconoclastic things occasionally, but you know, mostly just humor and music and dogs. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Teagan Stewart again. It's Teagan Stewart Music, so TEAGAN. And I'm also on all of the things. So Teagan Stewart Official is my website, but Teagan Stewart Music on Instagram and TikTok. And don't look at Twitter. Don't get on it. Stay off.
We all
Facebook
you are.
also. And yeah, follow us all on Spotify and all the other places you listen or download music.
Yes. Yeah, once again, I'm Noelle McFarland. That's NOELLE. NoelleMcFarland.com is my website, but it's Noelle McFarland Music on everything else, all of the socials with all of the search bars. Yeah, I've just been excited about kind of releasing a string of new singles and music that I'm proud of. I just released a single, and then my next one, by the time this podcast airs, I will have announced the release date.
Yay.
But as of right now, she's a secret. But yeah, that's my plugs.
Incredible. I'm Meg Rilley. My last name is spelled with 2 L's because everything needs to be a little complicated. So it's RILLEY. My website's just megriley.com. I'm at Meg Rilley on most things. Yeah, I'm releasing 3 singles this year. The first one will be announced in the next few weeks. So that's very exciting. Be on the lookout. My band is also Meg and the Boys. So you can also follow us on Instagram and or Twitter, just at meg.and.theboys. So, yeah.
Woohoo.
Cool. And I'm Erin McLendon. McLendon is spelled McLendon. 1 C. Please, for the love of God, don't put a second C in my name.
She'll find
Or
you.
else.
I will find you. No, I'll just bitch about it to
Just got
somebody.
Google alerts on for when someone types that in.
Girl,
Someone did it in Wichita. They're done.
I'd be impressed if somebody in Wichita was looking for me.
I mean, yeah, that would be a great sign
And
of progress.
spelling
Right?
your name at the same time.
Yeah, that one, it wouldn't shock me, but I'd be like, hey, I have fans in Wichita. Great. ErinMcLendon.com, at Erin McLendon on Instagram, and then everywhere else is at Erin McLendon Music. And Twitter is Erin Mick Music, because at the time McLendon didn't fit.
That's what it is on my Twitter is Noelle Mick Music.
Yeah, I think all of us
That's so
mix. We got to add
cute.
music at the end
Yeah.
because our names don't fit.
I thought it was unique for
Start
that.
going by music. I thought that's
Practically
great.
twins.
You thought.
We're basically the same person. I had an album released last year that Gerard helped me with the promo. You can look it up. It's self-titled, Erin McLendon. Again, McLendon. Thank you. And Music on the Move is at Music on the Move Studios on Facebook just look up Music on the Move Studios, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if we have a Twitter. I forgot the password, so
Time to make a new one.
honestly, Katie, Kate, and I have a shared note of all of our passwords because we all forget it that often. And then if one of us can't figure it out, if the one's not working, we just change it and update the note and tell everybody. So anyway, in case you want to hack any of our socials, guys,
You know who to talk to.
yeah. Come to the showcase March 20th, musiconthemovestudios.com/showcase to get your tickets, or really anywhere on there. We have thanks to Gerard, we have a little pop-up that comes up. But if you come to musiconthemovestudios.com and thebasementeast.com or thebasementnashville.com.
Mm-hmm. And you'll find that pop up on the homepage, the blog page, and the showcases.
Hey,
page.
thanks.
Look at that. Look at
Gerard's our techie.
that. Yep, that's
It's
me.
great.
That's my job. So yeah, Basement East, March 20th. That is a Monday. Get your tickets in advance to see everyone here on this stage and the HellCats as well. All female house band plus female pop-up vendor shops as well. Female owned, I should say. And this has been the Quinn Spinn. 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Stitcher, YouTube, and more. Also on the socials, mainly Instagram at Quinn Spinn Official. 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. Facebook and Twitter are there, but blah. Also, learn more about the show at undergroundmusiccollective.com, our central hub for all things independent music, creativity, community, discourse, and more. Learn more about UMC on all the socials: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Like I said, follow the UMC 20 playlist on Spotify, which, as of right now, a song from everyone on this stage is on that playlist because it's the week before the show. And you'll also hear 2 bonus tracks at the end, and that's the 2 new episodes of this podcast that come out every week. So 20 songs, 2 episodes. About 3 hours of listening if we have a really strong week with long discussions. NashLive.live. We have shows as well here in the Underground Music Collective ecosystem. Our next one is April 1st at the Cobra. We have a hip-hop and R&B showcase taking place. 8 o'clock start time. $10 in advance. $12 at the door. Get those tickets and look out. NashLive.live's got a lot more coming up this year. Revel 9's All I've Become going to take us out just like it brought us in, the end instead of the beginning, and I will see you next time. Hey now.
Bye.